And good afternoon, everyone. My name is meteorologist Heather Kane. It's time for our daily hail forecast, sponsored as always by C3 Group, Maryland Law Group, and American Contractor Show. Thank you guys as always for sponsoring our videos. So let's get right into our weather headlines. We do have another chance of severe weather today. Surprise, surprise. All hazards are going to be possible, and we'll talk about exactly where in just a second. And then tomorrow that risk shifts slightly to the south and the east along this same cold front that's going to be bringing that chance for severe weather today. So we'll talk about the areas that will be possibly impacted tomorrow, and then we will take a look ahead after those today and tomorrow to see if there's anything else that we need to keep an eye on for the rest of the week. So before we get into the forecast, we do have a few events coming up. The first one is the Northern Texas Roofing Contracting show. Yeah, it's a mini trade show, or I guess not so mini. This is going to be on June 8th, and some information is right here below. And then after that, we have the Florida Roofing and Sheet Metal Expo from the 19th to the 22nd in July down in Daytona Beach. So we have that one as well. So make sure you check those out. So let's get right into our reports from yesterday. We did have a lot of activity, especially wind from just to the parts of southeastern Nebraska here, South Dakota, all the way into Minnesota, southward into Iowa. We had a few reports, Nebraska as well as in Kansas, but you can see most of the action did occur here in Minnesota. And then we had some, just a few reports here and there in Georgia and Florida as well. So here are our current conditions across the lower 48. We do have, this is the system that brought that severe weather for the last few days. It's getting itself up into Canada, but we have this cold front here that's draped across the middle of the country, and low pressure as well with this. And this system here is going to be the cause of that severe weather later on this afternoon and evening. So we're just going to zoom on in here. This is again the remnants of that system that brought severe weather yesterday and the day before, spinning its way up into Canada. Some remnant showers are falling here in parts of Minnesota. And then we're going to go on down into the central and southern plains, where we do have some moderate rain falling in northern Missouri up into southeastern Iowa, and a little bit going on here just to the southeast of Wichita. So this area right in here from basically the panhandle of Texas and Oklahoma up into central Oklahoma, northeastward into Missouri and into the Great Lakes region. We're going to be watching this area very carefully as we get into this afternoon and into the evening hours. So here are our current temperatures. You can see where that cold front is. It's 70 in Minneapolis, 71 in Kansas City, but you go south and it's 88 in Dallas, 89 in Houston. So you can see where that cold front is with the warm, humid air in front of the cold front and a lot colder behind that cold front. Speaking of the moisture, very sticky, uncomfortable conditions. 67 for a dew point here in St. Louis, 61 in Wichita, so a little bit better there, but you go further south and those dew points are creeping up into the upper 60s and lower 70s. So a lot of moisture is in place to provide that fuel for severe weather. And here is our CAPE. So this is the energy that those thunderstorms need to fuel themselves. So we don't just need the heat or the humidity, we also need that instability, and we have plenty of it today. This is at 12:30 this afternoon. As we get into the next few hours, you can see that instability really starts to increase. And as we get later on in the evening, you can see it's really not dissipating that much. We still have a lot of instability right around sunset. So the storms that will be occurring will still have plenty of fuel to feed off of. And then once we hit midnight, I mean, this is still pretty impressive for midnight, you guys. Plenty of fuel still for any of those storms to feed off of, and then they start to diminish a little bit as we get into the overnight and morning hours. So here is our future radar. We're going to start with the south first because the risk is a bit better down here. So this is at 12:30. Those showers are going on right now in Missouri as well as far southeastern Kansas. We go a few hours here. This is at 4 p.m. Central Time. You can see some individual storms are starting. They are potentially going to start to fire up. So again, this is just one particular model, one run of this model. So this kind of just gives us an idea of what the storm mode would be as well as timing. But yeah, we are expecting some isolated storms to develop around 4 p.m. and some more scattered activity here in Kansas and Missouri. And as we get to around dinner time, this is 6 p.m. Central Time, more activity is going to be firing along that cold front. And then as we get to 8 p.m., more activity is going to be firing up. So basically Amarillo down to Lubbock here in Oklahoma City. We got to watch here very carefully. I think most of the activity is going to stay west of Oklahoma City. We really got to keep an eye on the movement of that cold front. We could get a storm here, or we could just get some showers in the overnight hours. So it's something that we need to watch. But Oklahoma City, you guys have a chance. Wichita northward to Kansas City and up into the northern Great Lakes region. You guys do have a chance to see some large hail and some damaging winds. You can see by the time we hit to midnight, it starts to turn more into a line. So like I said, we could see large hail here in Oklahoma City, or we could just see, some loud thunderstorms. It really just depends on the movement of this front and the timing and all that fun stuff. But as we get into midnight, that's activity will be southeast of Kansas City, and it'll be turning more into a line as well. And then as we get into the overnight hours, this line of activity will start to move on to the east, and around 6 a.m. we could see some storms in St. Louis. So now to the northern part of the risk here in the Great Lakes region. I think the chances are still there, but they're going to be a little bit lower. So this is at noon. Again, those showers are falling in parts of Iowa and northern Minnesota. Not Minnesota, that's Minnesota. This is Missouri. As we go into the next few hours, that will start to diminish a little bit, but then around 4 to 5 p.m., you can see a few little storms trying to fire just to the west of Chicago. So we gotta watch those, and more activity is expected to fire around sunset. So this is 8 p.m. Central Time. Gotta watch Chicago. Down to western Illinois, just to the northwest of St. Louis. And then as we get into the later evening and into the overnight hours, you can see that activity will be moving on to the east, and it'll start to diminish a bit. So Detroit, my hometown, you could see an isolated severe storm. It depends how long those storms keep themselves going, but there in Detroit to Chicago, down in St. Louis, severe weather is not out of the question for you guys. So let's take a look at our max hail size. I think today up to tennis ball size hail is possible for the strongest storms, and I'll show you exactly where in just a second. So literally in about a second. This is Storm Lance, and you can see here, this is along the cold front, and this is sponsored by See-Through Group. Thank you guys for sponsoring this. The largest hail is going to be possible from areas such as Wichita down to parts of northwestern Oklahoma down into the Panhandle. So Lubbock, I think you have a really good chance. Amarillo, it could just be to your east. We gotta watch you guys pretty carefully. So let's zoom on in here. Lubbock to Amarillo, Oklahoma City, Wichita. You guys are in the risk today for hail up to tennis ball size. And like I mentioned, we got to watch here in Oklahoma City to see if those storms fizzle out before they get here, or if they are able to move in. But if we can get an isolated storm to get in here, we could see some very large hail. So then moving on to the northeast, Kansas City, St. Louis, Chicago, as well as Detroit, you guys can see severe hail as well, although the sizes should be smaller compared to the southern part of the risk. And then we also have a very small area that we'll be watching in New York for some marginally severe hail as well. And then as we get into The wind for today, same areas, basically 60 to 70 mile per hour winds are possible from the panhandle of Texas into central Oklahoma, northeastward into Wichita, Kansas City, St. Louis, Chicago, and into Detroit. So again, 60 to 70 mile per hour winds are possible, especially as we get later on into the evening, and that storm turns more linear. So we got to keep an eye on that. And then again, this little risk here in New York it doesn't look very good, you guys. It's just pop-up stuff, but a storm or two could produce up to 60 mile per hour winds. So here is tomorrow. This is at 9 a.m. We're going to wake up, and it's going to be a bit stormy here in northwestern Oklahoma. So we'll be getting stuff today into tonight, and then getting into tomorrow morning. More storms will be developing, and those will be moving on to the southeast. So we could see a storm or two in the central parts of Oklahoma, so maybe here in Oklahoma City around noontime tomorrow, and that complex will move on to the east. And then here is 5:30. More storms are expected to develop here in Oklahoma, as well as the panhandle of Texas. You can see a few storms here by themselves in the Lubbock area, so you guys can see large hail there as well. And then as we get into the parts of Missouri, more storms in the form of a line are possible, maybe as far north as St. Louis. And then those will be moving on to the east, and then more storms will develop along that cold front. So we're going to possibly see some multiple rounds of severe weather tomorrow. So it could be a potentially active day if you're along and ahead of that cold front. And you can see by 7 a.m. on Thursday, we could possibly see a storm move into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. How strong will they be? Well, we just have to wait and see. I don't think it looks very impressive at this time, but you know how Mother Nature rolls. And then as we get into tomorrow for the northeast, we will wake up and see some showers and a few storms here in New York. And then getting into tomorrow afternoon, you can see we have some complexes here. So this is more wind than anything. We'll be here in the northeast, and then that activity will continue to move on to the east, and more robust activity will form along and ahead of that cold front during the afternoon and evening hours here from basically Ohio, Pennsylvania, New York, up into Vermont and New Hampshire, and into western Maine. And then that will continue to move off the coast as we get into tomorrow evening and into the overnight hours. And then it should start to calm down, at least in terms of severe weather, as we get into the overnight hours Wednesday and into Thursday. So here is tomorrow's hail forecast. This is sponsored by American Contractor Show. You can see here, let's go. Chance of hail here along the cold front, like I said. It's going to move a little bit to the southeast. So basically from the panhandle of Texas to here in central Oklahoma. So we could see, again, multiple chances of severe weather tomorrow in this area as storms just continue to fire along that cold front. We'll see how strong those storms get. This could increase in terms of size, but we have to just watch and see what happens today as well as tomorrow morning. And then as we get along that cold front here, hail up to $half size is possible. I think this should be more of a wind threat, but that hail is still possible from Springfield, Missouri to St. Louis, possibly going to be on the very northern edge of this. You may just miss out on it for tomorrow, but we will see. And then getting into Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, northeastward into Albany. So, and then in terms of the wind, same areas once again, right along and ahead of that cold front. Zooming on into the southern part of this risk, Lubbock, maybe as far north as Amarillo, here in Oklahoma City, eastward into St. Louis, Cincinnati, Pittsburgh, and up into New York. So again, 60 to maybe 70 mile per hour winds are possible with those strongest storms. So here is our jet stream. You can see here, this is sponsored by Merlin. Thank you guys for sponsoring. And this here is going to be the main focus for this system. You can see that dip here in the jet stream. And it's going to continue to move on to the east-northeast, That's tomorrow, and then getting into Thursday, that system will continue to move on to the east, and then it may start to zone out a bit, so it could be a little bit quieter as we get into Friday. We have to see, though, as we get another one moving on and as we get into the beginning of our weekend. So let's take a look at our look ahead forecast. This is for Thursday. Again, same deal. It's the cold front that's going to be producing the severe weather today as well as into tomorrow. So maybe as far north as Dallas. It's going to be very early, so around 7 a.m. Then you guys should be clear after that. So cross your fingers if you're in Dallas, but that risk will be stretching all the way up into the Tennessee Valley and then getting up into parts of the eastern part of the U.S. So we're only going to Thursday. There's not enough info for Friday, but stay tuned as that may change. So that's all that I have for you today. Make sure you follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, as well as our TikTok. We finally hit 5,000 people, so make sure you go there and follow us there. And if you have any questions, concerns, or you just want to say hi, you can give us a call at 855-334-4245. You can email us at info@hilltrace.com and check out our website at www.hilltrace.com. And I am meteorologist Heather Kay. I hope you all have a great rest of your Tuesday.